So here is we have agenda here, and let's understand why automation is nowadays everyone is talking about test automation, why it is important. So as the agile model has come in software development industry, so that is the main trigger point for automation because now the applications are made in a way faster than what we used to have, let's say 10 to 15 years back. So we have to deliver in every week or 2 week or in a month you have to put a release and you have to show to the customer that you have developed something. So in that way, testing is also important because we have to complete your testing task in limited time. So at the right side, I have mentioned that these are the main typical kind of testing which we perform. So API testing, functional tests, non-functional checks, visual test, and the mobile apps or the mobile web test. So API test is basically where we have to test APIs, not the user interface. So generally, let's see, because I told you that we will check in a more practical way. So what is API? Let's see that thing. So there is a tool called Postman where you can check APIs. You can do API testing. So for example, here I am checking one API which is maps.googleapis.com, and inside that this is the domain and they have their own API which is exposed. So this is the path of calling a particular API resource, and I'm searching something. So for example, railway station Pune, something like this. And this is my authentication key that which I'm using. So there is a free version of getting this key to check Google APIs, and then you can purchase. But what we are going to achieve here is we want to hit a Google Map API and putting some random thing as a parameter and checking what is the result. So what happens when you check something on, let's say, let's take a good example here. So when you check something on map.google.com, generally what you do, you search something here. So let's say I'm searching, let's say I'll write India. And once you hit it, in the background, actually one API is called, which will give you some detail. So let's put a particular example. So let me change this thing first. Okay. So now let's search particular thing. So I am searching railway station Pune. So when you put it, it shows you something here, right? The whole map is coming. And basically, it will give you the result, Agarkar, Nagar, Pune. And we search just the railway station Pune, but it will give you the exact position of it, Agarkar, Nagar, Pune, Maharashtra, pin code. And basically, it works with the longitude. So lat long, it basically works like latitude and longitude. Based on that, it will show a particular point where your search pattern is ending. So behind the scene, this is UI part, but behind the scene, what happens is, let me open again the Postman. The thing is, it in the background, actually it hits this thing. So it hits with this parameter and the result comes into the JSON format. That JSON format is again posted to the UI. It's like this. So once, let me call it, I'm doing send, and here if you see the result, which is showing is, let's understand this thing. Status 200 OK means it is passed. There is no error. This time is showing you that it took 587 milliseconds to get the response. And this is a response size, so 1005 bytes. So if you see here, the result is coming in the JSON format, where it is showing the Agar Nagar and Pune Junction and some details, some formatted address, which we saw in the Google Map user interface. The same thing is coming here. So what is happening nowadays is UI testing is taking too much time, and user interface are nowadays are very smart. You don't have to check a lot of things. So it's better to check the API, because once you get the detail into the response, the same thing will be projected to the user interface. So it's better to do the API testing. So most of the companies, what they are following, if they have APIs in the web services, what they are doing is they are segregating that, okay, let's do 50% of the API test and 50% of the user interface functional test. We cannot underestimate the UI functional check, obviously, but to the certain extent you can limit it. If it is a stable website and you're checking it for a longer time, there is no way to do again and again the same kind of testing on the user interface. It's better to put API testing because it is faster. See, you put that thing and you got the result. You don't have to log in, right? You don't have to open a Chrome browser. You don't have to do that thing. You just hit an API, but you should have one authentication key to do that. So the developer will provide you this thing, or your organization will provide you. Let's try with some other value. So I want to check, let's say, any famous place, Char Minar, and sorry if I'm making any mistake on spelling. So once I did, so it's showing me all the result here. So it's showing me that, okay, you search the Char Minar and Char Minar Road, Char Kamam, Ghasi Bazaar, Hyderabad, Telangana, giving the full address and the latitude and longitude. The same thing you can perform on Google Map also. That will give you exactly same result. So if I search here, if you see here on the result side, it's showing me the same result where it is pointing to this place. So that is API testing, but this is not just a simple thing on API. There are a lot of things to check. So for example, you have to do get. Get means you are getting the details from the web server, and ultimately it is going to some kind of database and getting the details. So there are different methods: post, put, patch, delete. I'm not going into detail, but I just wanted to show you that there is a tool called Postman, which you can install on your Windows, and you can do your REST API testing through this. There are a lot of other things to understand itself on the Postman, how to use it, how to check the result, what are the parameters which we check when the result is coming. That is not the part of, as of now, what I'm showing you. So we will touch base all the tools which are important in testing nowadays. And it is there, Postman is there for a longer time. Let's go back to our agenda. The second thing is functional test, which everyone is doing. So because any application which has user interface or API or anything, any desktop application, they have some kind of business functionalities, obviously. So those kind of tests are functional test cases. Non-functional checks are basically which is not related to the functionality which you are checking, right? The calculation and all. It is related to, let's say, performance and how how readable it is, your application, how it is like easy to use, those kind of things comes and all the security testing and the visual tests are there, and then there is mobile app web test. So nowadays every application is like mm, what we say is so there are different kind of uh, once you have one website, right? So generally companies are doing like they make the mobile app for that as well. So for example, Flipkart or Amazon, they have their web version as well as mobile app version, and you can so there is a look and feel difference, and functionality wise it's same. So for example, when you open the mobile app, it's a mobile app testing for the Amazon, but when you put amazon.com in the Chrome browser in your mobile, so again how it is showing is different from what you use, what you open into the your laptop Chrome browser. So that kind of testing, whether the functionality are working or not, that is mobile app or web test. So there are different roles nowadays. QA automation, SDET, full stack QA. I'm not going into this into detail. We have covered this thing last time, but try to understand that why nowadays it's like whenever you are going to search for a testing job or in your own company, you can see this change that nowadays you must have some kind of automation knowledge, right, to become one of these, to have this kind of responsibility. So generally, it's not like it's a hard fact definition. I'm not putting a definition here, but as per my experience, I'm saying here that pure automation is generally those kind of person who is mm, converting your manual test script to the automated code and putting it into the CI pipeline where this automation script will be executed automatically whenever it is required to be executed and show the result to all the stakeholders. SDET role is nowadays is a very clean role and it is equivalent to the developer nowadays. Every company is like looking for this kind of um, professional who can develop the test code, who can design the framework and make some reusable APIs or the functions, who can make small tools to reduce any kind of human effort. So even making a small tool to generate the test input data, that is also an automation job, right? Then there is a full stack QA. Uh, you must have heard about full stack developer. In the same way, we have full stack QA who work on the front end test automation as well as back end test automation. So who can work on both the ways, like doing the database testing, integrating it to the front end, and checking whether it is working fine or not. You must be having some questions, but we'll take it at last, no problem. You just note down as of now in your system what questions you have. So how to start learning? Don't be in a hurry and check what you can learn. Uh, Learn it slowly, but learn it effectively. Learn in a way that you know all the pros and cons of anything, any concept. Learn it a way that you can also share the knowledge with anyone. So let's say how to learn. So what I have written here is, if you want to become a good test automation engineer, if you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that will be very helpful in future. You should not be in hurry to learn any tool. So let's say if you want to learn Ranorex or UiPath or anything like UFT or Selenium, don't be in hurry to directly jump to a particular tool learning and writing the code for the automation. Learn it by a systematic way. So that is why I have organized this webinar series to let 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 you know and share my experience about it. So learn it. Start with the HTML because ultimately you are going to automate a website that is built on HTML. So if you already know how to make a website, it will be very easy to understand how to get the element, how to automate, how to click on some element. So how to learn HTML? There is a website W3 Schools, and that is the best website what I have seen till now. I'm going to the HTML. Here you have chapter wise thing, so you can follow this thing and learn till at least HTML input attribute. There are chapters like this, and it will not take much time. You can complete it within 15 days. It won't take much time. So let's take one example. Another thing is whenever you see any example here, you should take it on your own system and try it. So let me show you a very simple example here in my own system. So if I want to make a small code, let me open this and let's make a small HTML code and check on your system whether it is working or not. The HTML starts with the HTML tag itself, and then we should put a body. Most of you know this thing already, but what I'm saying is whenever you see any concept, try to execute on your own system. I'm just showing you how to um, do this thing. So for example, here I just want to make one text box. So input type is equals to text, and I give some ID is ABC, anything. I'm just saving it, and I'll save it as a HTML. So I'm using Notepad++ as a editor, and it's a good thing to use. I'm searching where is HTML here. So I'll give a name. Let's take testing something and saving it into the desktop. And let me open the same thing. So if you see here, I have opened it and it is showing me one text box. So my idea is whenever you see any example, try to implement on your own system, and it won't take much time because there is a try it yourself button. You have to copy this code, put it on your own system. You have to change obviously the JPG file, for example, here, which is present in your system, right? And there are small changes which you have to do, obviously, to run on your system. And then once you have saved it as a .html file, you'll be able to see what is happening. Try to change a little bit, for example, width, height, and try to understand what is happening when you change the height, width, or anything which is present in this code. So in this way, we can learn HTML. The same case is with CSS also. So how to learn CSS? Again, here we have CSS tutorial. So CSS is basically to put color coding or the font styling, anything which is related to actually the content is already there in the website. For example, here, if you see example in each chapter, it's somehow bold and in a bigger font. So this thing is done through some kind of CSS to make its header a bit bolder and font size higher. So that is the CSS thing. Again, there are chapters and you just have to complete till this. Not you don't have to see in the depth, but try to understand what is CSS. And the next is JavaScript. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is like embedded script into the HTML, which is generally used for in a simple website. Generally, it is used for client-side validation or server-side scripting. So, for example, let me I'll give you a very simple example. Alert. Let me search that thing and inject the same thing. So, for example, um, I'm just searching here. Put alert in HTML code. We'll give you some example. So, alert method is there, and you can put alert. But how to use it? Checking the example. So it's like button on click my function and then script will be called. So let's copy this code and I'll explain you how it is working. So I'm copying this code and let's go back to this and okay. So it's the HTML body we started and it is just a paragraph which it will show. And then there is a, so where is the JavaScript? So I'll tell you. So this is the JavaScript code which is injected here. So in between the HTML under the body, they have put the JavaScript code and what it is doing actually. So there is a button tag means it will show a button with the text try it. Once you click on try it, right, there is a function which will be called on click my function. This will be called under the script. What they have done is function they have written and it is the same function which you called. There may be n number of functions which you can throw and here they are opening an alert. So this is the syntax to open an alert. So let me save this, go back to HTML testing.html. I'm refreshing it. See here, it is showing me a button. Once I click here, it is showing me an alert. So there's a small thing on JavaScript is very useful when you start automation. So it will give you a good idea of what developer has written in their code when you write test automation code. So let's go back to this. So JavaScript, yes, and also you should learn UNIX command because generally the servers where the code is deployed are generally UNIX systems or the Linux systems. So you should know basic UNIX commands to execute your code, right? How to open files, how to search a particular thing in file, the whole folder structure. Simple codes on Unix. You don't have to learn it like in depth, but you should know this thing. Is programming language important? Yes, we'll talk about this thing. So nowadays it is like Selenium with Java or Selenium with Python is most popular thing to learn, and some organizations are working on Selenium with C#. So if they have developed their code, or if they are like they have more number of developers who are working in C#. So generally they prefer to make their test automation code also in C#. So let's go back to this thing again. Whenever you are learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, try to make your own website, a small website, and then once you learn all the things, you'll be able to make your own a good website, and you will get to know how any website is built, what are the elements they are using, is drop down is used, right? Is list is used, you'll get to know. Second thing is MySQL. MySQL is also important to learn. Why? Because ultimately everything is stored into the database, and everything which you are checking into your website or getting the data into your website is coming through some kind of database. So how to learn MySQL? So for MySQL, you have to download MySQL server, and so you can download the MySQL. You can see the videos how to install our MySQL database into your system, how to make a small database, how to create the table. Still, once you create your database and the table, you have this tutorial to query for the query. So till what you should learn? You should learn till this. At the left side, if you see SQL tutorial, this thing, and if you go down, SQL database is there. You should learn till views. SQL injection is also a good thing. So you can learn till SQL hosting, and you don't have to spend much time, and it won't take actually much time. It just, I guess, 15 days if you spend every day 30 minutes or 30 to 35 minutes, you will be able to complete this thing. And it will actually help you whenever you will be doing your code, whenever you will write the code to connect to the database and get the data from the database through code. So that we will see maybe in future. I'm going through what are the things we should learn, and then learn a programming language. So you have to choose what programming language you want to learn. So there is Java, Python, JavaScript. These are the languages which are like most popular language nowadays. So you can choose any one of these. Then there is Selenium, and we already talked last time that why Selenium is important, because it is most popular and widely accepted into different organizations for different kind of web applications. So where you can automate anything whichever you are seeing in your web browser, you can do it through Selenium. So once you learn the Selenium, it will be easy to learn any other automation tool. It's like this. So for example, when we say C language is the mother language, right? Once you learn C language, you'll be able to learn any other language because you will be able to relate it. Okay, this kind of data type were present in the C, and this kind of data type is here in other language. You can see this slide, and then I'll proceed for the next one. So this is what I have put as other aspects of being a good test automation engineer, as a good quality assurance professional. We should follow this thing. That we have already talked about, EPA testing and all. Okay, so most of the QA engineers think that programming is very difficult thing to learn. It's not like that. Once you are passionate about it, and if you want to learn about the automation or any programming language, if you do it step by step, and when you do it practically, it will become easier. Once you see on your own, okay, if I'm writing this kind of program, what output is coming, if I'm changing some kind of parameter, how it is working, then gradually it will get easy to make programs or on any programming language. If you are learning it, initial days it will feel like it's difficult, but once you get through it to to make some functions and calling that function, we will then enjoy it about the programming. And it takes time to learn it. The only thing is the practice and talking about it, whether you are checking whether what you are writing is correct or not. So it's always good to take the peers' help. You can show your code to the developers, anyone like colleague or your friend, whether you are writing in a good way or not. So I think yes, automation, it's a demand of the industry. It's a demand of like any software project that you have to automate your test cases. And I'm opening the question answer session, so you can ask me anything, whether it is related to the slides which we have seen or it is not related, doesn't matter. You can ask me anything. So let me unmute all, then you can. Do you guys have any question?
Yes, I do have noticed some Zulu.